Coming up on FaceTime. So what do you think Belgium can offer to Guangdong?
I think we can offer quite a lot besides very good chocolate.
How important are those delegations?
They show at least how intense the relationship between Belgium and China is, and Guangdong in particular.
And so what is it you love so much about art?
Chinese porcelain made in Guangdong probably. And
so you bought it in Madrid and then brought it to here?
And brought it
It's
back.
come home?
I would not be able to live without them.
In the eyes of most Chinese people, Belgium is famous for elegant diamonds, tasty beer, and the indulgent chocolate. However, people of Guangdong can explore Belgium more. In 2015, Guangdong and Limburg province in Belgium have signed an agreement to establish sisterhood. Guangdong and Belgium have close and frequent exchanges in recent years. What's the impetus behind the escalated interaction between Guangdong and Belgium? Geographically, Belgium is one of the terminals on the Silk Road economic belt. What opportunities we can see under the Belt and Road Initiative? Mr. Joris Selden, the Consul General of the Kingdom of Belgium in Guangzhou, came to FaceTime to tell us the cordial Guangdong-Belgian relationship.
Why are you here? How did this posting come about?
Oh, I arrived here more or less a year ago. It's going to be a year in July. Coming from Madrid, actually. And I came here basically by accident, how diplomatic postings and denomination for postings goes. It's sometimes a little of a Russian roulette. And so I've never been to Asia on a posting, and I never set foot in China before, so it really was quite a surprise.
It's clear you're very happy here and you've had a great first year. And how long is your posting?
My posting will be for 4 years. That's a normal term in Belgian diplomacy.
So what has surprised you since you came here then?
Everything surprised you when you don't know the place really. I knew of course of Canton in the historical side as being a very important commercial place in Asia. So I knew about the city, I knew a little about Chinese history, I knew about the Great Wall, the Forbidden City, the traditional one. But I had no clear vision on what the country itself was like. So I think one of the surprises probably was that pollution was not as bad as I expected it to be. Mm-hmm. In Europe we see the pictures of Beijing clouded in mist, and I said, okay, that's going to be difficult. And I found out actually here it's a lot better than in the north of the country. Also, in part, I think because probably local authorities were much more aware of the problem maybe earlier, so they tackled the problem maybe earlier. And on the other hand, because also the economic structure is different here. You have a lot of private enterprises, and private enterprises tend to adapt more fast to new policies than big state-owned companies.
A Belgian delegation led by Vice Governor of Limburg, Mr. Frank Smith, visited Guangdong last December, and the most recent visit was that of the Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang to Brussels a few weeks ago.
As Belgium's representative here, I know one of your key roles is getting delegations to come and visit, and there's been a number of visits recently from Limburg province, which signed the sisterhood arrangement in 2015. How important are those delegations?
I think they show at least how intense the relationship between Belgium and China is, and Guangdong in particular. The high-level visit goes both ways. I think a few weeks ago we had the Chinese Prime Minister who actually came to visit Brussels, so we're very honored to have him. But on the other way around, we have regular visits from governors or responsible from provinces who come here. You mentioned the visit from Limburg, of course. The Limburg Twinning Agreement with Guangdong province is one of the most successful we have at the moment. So it's been a source for a very intense collaboration, and they're coming every year. And this year we will probably have the the governor of Limburg, coming again at the end of the year. So this is an example of how the collaboration actually through training agreements can actually be very profitable for both sides.
Why do you think that arrangement has been so successful?
I think because there was a very goodwill on both sides. Training agreements can be a piece of paper you sign during an official visit, and a lot of those are just that. But here there was a clear will from the Limburg province to actually invest quite financially also in making this a success. And so they come basically every year because they want to build a trust relationship with the local authorities here, and there are visits from the Guangdong province back to Limburg. So the relationship is actually very intense, and it starts actually to bear fruit on academic level, on economic level, on cultural level. There's quite an intense exchange between both.
The high-level frequent exchange visits between the two countries strongly promoted the friendly relations between China and Belgium. Guangdong is an open province and a display window of Chinese culture to the West. The economic and cultural exchange between Belgium and Guangdong is also developing.
And ahead of such visit, are there certain goals that Belgium wants to achieve in partnership with Guangdong?
As I mentioned, this is the first visit in a very long time, so they really have two main objectives. One is to increase the collaboration with the Guangdong province, and that will probably go through meetings at the official level. I think for the moment on the program is a meeting with Governor Ma. We are very keen to know what his plans are for the Guangdong province. We saw how Shenzhen has changed in a very short time, and how it can be an example for in some areas. I'm more or less thinking of, for example, ecological approach is very interesting. New technologies is very interesting. So these are certainly sectors where our administration is keen to develop more collaboration, because we have quite a lot of things to offer on that sector.
And how would these collaborations, how does that fit in with the policy of One Belt, One Road?
Well, the One Belt, One Road is actually one of the projects we have very keen interest for. Belgium, as I mentioned, is a logistic hub. Guangdong is a logistic hub on the other side, so we are basically on each side of the belt. And Belgium has always been in favor of a more interconnectivity between Belgium and Europe, and China on the other side. So it is definitely a project we're following. And a few weeks ago in Beijing, there was a very important conference on the OBOR initiative, and we had again a vice prime minister who was present at the time to see the launch of a train going with cars from Daiqing to Zeebrugge, which is an important port in Belgium. And from Zeebrugge, the cars will be distributed over the whole of Europe. So there are already very concrete projects in place.
So what do you think Belgium can offer to Guangdong?
I think we can offer quite a lot besides very good chocolate. But on technological side, Belgium has developed over the past years a quite high-level green tech, which, considering the political will actually to tackle the problem in China, is definitely something we can offer. Belgium is a country besides the sea, so we have a very good maritime industry, and in that sector we could also help, of course, develop the potential of the Chinese coastline. I'm thinking here again on ecological side, renewable energies. We have quite a huge experience on that, and Belgian enterprises are already present on the local market.
And you mentioned earlier the importance of two-way relations. So what does Guangdong offer Belgium?
Guangdong offer Belgium quite a lot. We have, actually, I think it's hard to say that what they don't offer, because we import so much from China. And Belgium is a very good logistic hub. So a lot of Chinese enterprises are actually putting their European distribution sectors in Belgium for two main reasons, basically. Belgium is geographically ideally situated, so we have access to the whole continent. It's like Guangzhou, actually. It's an entry port to the continent. So that's one aspect, certainly, that is important for us. On the other hand, we have a very, very diverse population. So if you want to try a product and you want to know, will it be successful in Europe? You can try it in France, and then it will be successful in France. You can try it in Holland, and it will be successful in Holland. If you try it in Belgium, you have such a diverse spectrum of population that you can actually try a product that would be successful in the whole of Europe. That's definitely one of the added advantages of being in Belgium for Guangdong enterprises.
Belgian chocolate is recognized as one of the best chocolate nations in the world. From Godiva to Leonidas, from Newhalls to Mary. Belgium has a wide variety of chocolate brands and has over 320 chocolate shops throughout the country.
Let's talk a bit about Belgium exports then. You mentioned chocolate earlier. How important is chocolate in terms of a Belgian brand?
Belgium as chocolate is unique. It's not only actually a product, it's actually a part of our traditions and our way of life almost. So it is definitely one of the products we sell the best abroad because, I mean, it's also a very nice product to sell. I mean, I can also, of course, Belgium has a lot of important also chemical industry, but it sells easier when you sell it wrapped in chocolate. Yeah, so chocolate is definitely a good product to sell. There's a very keen interest on the Chinese market also for Belgian chocolate, so I'm very happy it's a successful one. It's not only a very good one, it's a successful one too.
In terms of tourism, from modern city boasting designer shops and glamorous galleries, to cobblestone streets laden with museums and native indulgences. The best places to visit in Belgium also have something for everyone to enjoy on a vacation.
You mentioned tourism earlier, and have you noticed a growth in that in terms of, because more and more tourists are travelling out of Guangdong to Belgium?
Yes, there is an increasement year after year. We see just in visa figures, we can see actually measure the increase each year. I think the only thing I would like to improve, and if I manage to do that in the next year, I would be very happy, is actually to convince people not to just cross Belgium. It's a small country, so you cross it fast without even noticing you've been through it. But there's so much to offer in the country itself. And I think it's important that people from China actually realize that they just can, stay there. You can spend 4 or 5 days in Belgium and you will not get bored. You have everything you want, from shopping. We do a lot of good shopping. From art, from nature. We have it actually all on a very small surface. So it's very easily to go from one point to the next. So you don't have to spend hours in traffic or whatever. I mean, you can go from Brussels to Ghent, which is one of the nicest cities you can visit in Flanders. It's half an hour train.
Well, I'm very glad you mentioned art, because we're going to finish this show in a slightly different way, because we're going to go to your home. Because you're passionate about art.
I am passionate about art. I mean, I think art is one of the richness of life, and it makes your life more beautiful in a general way. It increases your knowledge of the people and your knowledge of the history. And I think it's very difficult to know anything about the country without having a look at its history.
We've come to the residence of the Belgian Consul General here in Guangzhou, and Joris, you're going to introduce some of the magnificent artworks you've got around your residence.
My pleasure to have you here. Yes, actually it's a little complicated in this job when you're collecting, but I tend to travel with a lot of art myself. So
well, I can tell. So this is as we come into the
This is actually
hallway.
one of the major paintings I have hanging in the house. This is actually a 16th century Flemish painter. And there's a quite nice story to it. Basically, it represents Hercule and Omphale, which is people from Greek mythology. And Hercule is known in mythology as a big macho guy.
Yes, right.
And Omphale is a witch. And actually, she seduced Hercules and she forced him to do woman's work. And as you can see here, actually is helping her making the thread from the wool. So this is actually showing women's dominance, which actually at the time this was painting, this was quite revolutionary. Also, interestingly, this work, normally the theme is quite frequent in Italian Renaissance art, so you see it quite often, but normally it has quite a heavy erotic touch to it. Here actually the whole erotic part is actually just between the look of the two main characters of the painting. So it's actually a painting about 5 years ago, more or less. My mother left me some money inheritance, and there's a personal touch to it. And she did not have much money, but she wanted to leave us something.
Yeah.
So when she passed away, we found envelopes with money for each of the children. And when I entered the antique shop the day after, this painting was exactly the amount that was in the envelope. So I said I have to buy it.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. That's how it ended up here.
And you were saying it links in with
It links nicely,
another piece
yes.
from similar era?
Similar
16th century?
era, similar country also, because this is of course a Flemish tapestry from the Low Countries, made probably in Brabant. It's the region around Brussels. You had very important school. Malines is one, Brabant is another one. Tapestries were at the time the most important export product for Belgium. And this is again woman dominance. This is actually a tapestry which is a part of 12 tapestries, which is a triumph of Cleopatra. So you have Cleopatra with Mark Antony at the time. Caesar is already dead in the story. And because, by the way, this is supposed to be Caesar's son. You see the little boy in the side.
Yep.
So again, you have women defying man's superiority, and the same way that you had in the painting, everything is interlocked between the two characters on the top. So it's quite a good quality. It had suffered from time, but this, I think one of the nice things about antiques is they can show their age. We can, but antique can.
It's beautiful. And then we're going to move to more modern times.
Yes, one of the nice thing is also sometimes just to link antique pieces with contemporary art. This is a famous Belgian sculptor. It's called Johan Tahal. He's actually a very good friend of mine, both him and his wife. And when I was posted in Istanbul, which is now almost 8 years ago, we commissioned a piece of art from him for our consulate, which is a big Maiolica piece. And at the time we organized also an exhibition for him in the Hagia Sophia, in the museum in Istanbul. And when I moved here, I was missing 2 large pieces, because this is actually a perfect frame for large art pieces.
Great.
The nice thing is when you sit in the couches, you actually have 2 extra people sitting on the conversation, which makes it lovely. Very poetic style.
And then finally, you're going to show us into the dining room.
Yes, it's actually set for dinner we'll have later.
So this is where you have your official dinners on behalf of the consulate.
Yes, this is. We don't have breakfast like this. Just the 2 of us. That would be a little pass me the salt show. What do we have here? Interesting piece. Chinese porcelain.
Oh, beautiful.
Bought in Madrid. This is Compagnie des Indes. So it's Chinese porcelain made in Guangdong probably. And
so you bought it in Madrid and then brought it to here?
And brought it
back.
It's
come home?
Yes, it's a bit the funny part about Chinese antiques. A lot of them are coming home recently. This is a nice combination.
And the pictures?
The pictures, we have a lady and a man. So very, very well balanced, as most of the time the dinner table has to be. The lady is French. We don't know much about her. The painter is quite famous, but she's completely unknown, unfortunately. We found out that she took part in an exhibition in Barcelona in 1902. This one is a funny chap. It's a cardinal. He's a martyr of the Catholic Church, and he was martyred by putting a locket on his mouth. And actually, if you see on the painting,
down here,
he still has the locket. And is actually the protector saint of mad bathing. So if you speak badly of people, he will intervene. So this is always good when you're sitting.
So that means all the guests have to be polite with each other.
They have to be polite and nice to each other. A nice story about this guy also is called Schijn Tramondo non natus, meaning not born. That means until the 19th century, Catholic Church started with the principle: if you were born with cesarean operation, you did not get born the natural way, so you got not born. So that's a non-natus. So we know he was born with in that cesarean way, which has brought us back to Caesar on the other side. But
so
17th century Spain. Not big painting, but a nice little story to it.
And so what is it you love so much about art?
One, it's a door to history. I never just buy a painting. I never just buy a sculpture. I always try to know the context in which the painting was created. It created also a link to time. I mean, we travel a lot, we move a lot, so it makes you a link to your own country when it's your own art, but also to your history. The Flemish tapestry, for example. The fact that, 400 years ago, they hardly knew where China was, but now it's here, and it survived the whole period. And then third, there's just pure pleasure of having beautiful things in the house.